Hey everyone, getting prepped for those Class 10 exams? You are in exactly the right place. Today we're going to break down a really big idea, power sharing. You can think of it as the engine that makes modern democracy run. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll get it completely. So let's jump right in.
But first, I want you to think about this question. What if a system that was literally designed to create peace also ended up feeling, well, deeply unfair to someone? It's a real-world puzzle, and it's the perfect way to understand why power sharing is so important and also why it can get so complicated.
Okay, so let's zoom in on a story. Let's meet Khalil. He lives in Beirut, which is the capital of Lebanon. It's this incredible, vibrant city where all kinds of different cultures and communities live together. Now, the really cool thing about Khalil's family is that it's a perfect reflection of his city's diversity. See, his dad is an Orthodox Christian, and his mom is a Sunni Muslim, and this kind of mix isn't that unusual there at all. On the surface, it sounds like a picture-perfect modern society, right?
Well, here's the catch. After a brutal civil war, Lebanon's leaders put together a really strict power-sharing system to keep the peace. The deal was the president has to be a Maronite Christian, the prime minister has to be a Sunni Muslim, and so on. So for someone like Khalil, who doesn't fit neatly into one box, it means the highest office in his own country is totally off-limits. He can never hold it. He's literally locked out by the system.
Khalil's story is our jumping-off point for this whole topic. We'll start with his dilemma, then we'll define what power sharing actually is. After that, we'll explore the three main ways it works, and we'll wrap it all up with the key takeaways you absolutely need to know for your exams. Sound good? Let's do it. So this gets us to the big idea. Why on earth would a country set up a system like Lebanon's? Well, it all goes back to this core principle of power sharing, which was a huge fundamental shift in how people thought about government. So, what is it really? At its heart, power sharing is the idea that political power shouldn't be held by just one person or one group. Instead, it should be spread out, distributed among as many different people and groups as possible so that everyone gets a say.
And this chart shows that shift perfectly. See, the old way of thinking was that you had to concentrate power with one ruler or group. Why? So you can make decisions quickly. But the whole idea of democracy flips that on its head. It says, no, wait a minute. Real power comes from the people. And if it comes from the people, it has to be shared by the people.
Okay, so let's get into the first way this actually happens. We'll start with horizontal power sharing. This is all about creating what's called a system of checks and balances.
Now, this is the classic three-branch system you've probably heard of. First, you have the legislature, that's like the parliament, and their job is to make the laws. Then you have the executive, these are the government ministers, and they're the ones who implement those laws. And finally, you have the judiciary, the courts, and they interpret the laws. The key is they're all on the same level, and each one keeps an eye on the others so that no single branch gets too powerful. That's your system of checks and balances right there.
All right, next up, vertical power sharing. This one is a little different. Instead of sharing power across branches at the same level, this is about sharing power from the top all the way down to the bottom.
Just think of it like a pyramid. At the very top, you've got the federal or union government. They handle the big picture stuff for the whole country, like defense or foreign policy.
Then you go one level down and power is shared with state governments. So in a country like India, for example, each state has its own government to deal with regional issues like local policing or farming.
And finally, we get all the way down to the grassroots. Power is shared with your local government, like the city municipality or the village panchayat. This brings government right into your neighborhood to solve local, everyday problems. Now for our third and final form of power sharing, and this one brings us full circle right back to Khalil's story in Lebanon. This is all about sharing power among different social groups, religious, linguistic, you name it, to make sure everyone feels represented.
And this can look a few different ways. In a place like Belgium, they have what's called a community government for different language speakers. Other places have reserved constituencies to make sure that weaker sections of society get a seat at the table. Power also gets shared through competition between political parties, which often have to form coalitions. And don't forget pressure groups, like trade unions or business groups. They influence decisions too.
I love this question from the textbook. Is rotating the class monitor every month a kind of power sharing? And the answer is yes, absolutely. It's a perfect, simple example of the whole idea in action. You're making sure that one person doesn't hold on to all the power for too long.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground, so let's pause and boil this all down into the key points. This is the stuff you really want to lock in for those exams to get maximum marks.
So let's recap.
The core idea is simple. Power comes from the people, so it needs to be distributed. How? Well, three main ways. Horizontally, between the legislature, executive, and judiciary. Vertically, from the federal government down to the provincial and local levels. And finally, among groups, like different social communities, political parties, and pressure groups to make sure everyone's voice is heard.
And that's a wrap. But I want to leave you with one final thought. Start looking for this stuff around you. Seriously. In your student council, in a local club, maybe even in how your family makes decisions. Where do you see these ideas of power sharing playing out in real life?
We really hope this explainer helps you feel way more confident about power sharing and gets you totally exam ready. If you found this helpful, do us a favor and hit that like button, share it with your friends, and drop a comment below. Oh, and definitely subscribe to the A1 Institute YouTube channel so you don't miss our next explainer.
Remember, here at A1 Institute, we're all about helping you succeed, whether you need help with admissions, amazing notes, or just expert guidance.
If you want to learn more, just get in touch with us. The phone number is waiting for you in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.